You boil the water, you drop in the bag. As the herbs steep, you read the tiny printed tag attached to the string. Inhale peace, exhale happiness. Yogi tea sits in millions of kitchen cabinets, acting as a small, reliable ritual of mindfulness. But the same organization packaging that daily zen also birthed one of the largest private security firms in the United States. This entity holds massive federal contracts, deploying guards armed with assault rifles to military bases, immigration detention centers, and federal courthouses. How a brand built entirely on the aesthetics of inner peace funded a massive paramilitary operation is a story that begins with the man who created both. In the late 1960s, the American counterculture was hitting a wall. The initial optimism of the hippie movement had fractured into widespread drug addiction, leaving thousands of young people wandering Los Angeles searching for a new sense of purpose. Harbhajan Singh Khalsa, who would become known as Yogi Bhajan, was a former Indian customs inspector who had recently emigrated to North America. When he looked at the disillusioned youth of California, he recognized an immense untapped market. He took his own interpretations of Sikhism, combined them with vigorous Kundalini yoga, and packaged the result as 3HO, the Healthy, Happy, Holy Organization. He pitched it to his young audience as a drug-free path to enlightenment. The pitch worked. But Bhajan didn't simply gather a congregation of believers. He recruited a highly malleable workforce that was desperate for absolute direction. Once inside the 3HO ashrams, the promise of spiritual liberation was quickly replaced by rigid physical and psychological subjugation. Followers adhered to mandatory, grueling daily requirements. They were required to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to take freezing cold showers, followed by hours of intense chanting and strenuous yoga postures designed to break down physical resistance. That control extended deep into their personal lives. Yogi Bhajan personally dictated who his followers would marry, arranging partnerships within the group to ensure total reliance on his authority. The interference went further. Children born into the commune were often separated from their parents and sent to boarding schools in India, a practice that severed family bonds and ensured primary loyalty remained with the guru. The uniform white turbans and clothing successfully masked a system of totalizing control over the individual. Sustaining this rapidly expanding network of followers required massive amounts of capital. By the 1980s, the religious organization began spinning off a complex web of corporate entities. Zooming in on this specific branch reveals the origins of Yogi Tea. After yoga classes, Bhajan would serve a spiced Ayurvedic tea. Soon, unpaid followers were assigned to package the ginger, cinnamon, and cardamom blend by hand for commercial sale. As the natural foods movement gained traction in the United States, 3HO successfully commodified Eastern mysticism, shrinking it down into a box that could sit comfortably in the American supermarket aisle. By utilizing the free labor of its devoted members, the religious organization quietly constructed a business juggernaut worth hundreds of millions of dollars. In 1980, the commune launched its most extreme corporate venture, a private security firm called Akal Security. Over the following decades, this offshoot of a yoga commune secured over $1 billion in federal security contracts. They were hired to guard highly sensitive sites, including massive NASA facilities. Following the September 11th attacks, Akal Security experienced rapid expansion. To meet the massive surge in government demand, the company aggressively recruited former military and law enforcement personnel. The visual result was a stark clash of identities. Guards stood watch over federal courts and embassies, wearing the signature white Sikh turbans of their spiritual movement, paired directly with tactical bulletproof vests. 3HO had successfully morphed from a hippie commune into a weaponized, highly profitable arm of the privatized American security state. Yogi Bhajan died in 2004, an event that immediately fractured the organization. Bitter, high-stakes lawsuits followed as leaders fought for control of his billion-dollar business assets. But the true reckoning arrived in 2020. Pamela Sahara Dyson, a former secretary in the organization, published a memoir detailing the severe abuse she experienced during her time in the group. The book triggered a flood of similar allegations. In response, the corporation hired an olive branch, an independent consultancy, to conduct a formal, third-party investigation into the late guru's conduct. The resulting report concluded it was more likely than not that Yogi Bhajan engaged in decades of systematic misconduct. The findings detailed rape, sexual abuse, and the psychological torment of his female followers. The self-proclaimed guru of the Aquarian age used his absolute spiritual authority not for the enlightenment of his followers, but for predatory exploitation. We return to the boiling water and a tea bleeding into the cup. Millions of Americans buy this product, seeking daily inner peace. They read a soothing quote on a tiny tag, often unaware of the violent, abusive reality of the man who wrote it, or the paramilitary empire those tea sales helped fund. Authentic mindfulness involves looking past the calming packaging to confront the dark histories of the corporations we unwittingly fund.